Hey guys, my name's Dimitri. I'm a current VC English language tutor and owner of tutoring agency learnmate.com.au. So today I'm going to be talking to you about the differences between formal and informal language. But first, before you watch this video, please make sure you read the article in the description of this video before watching the rest of this video. So once you've read the article, let me first explain some of the key differences between informal and formal language. But first, I'd like to say that part of Unit 3 is looking at, well, pretty much all of Unit 3 is looking at formal and informal language. So Unit 3, Area Study 1 is informal, and Unit 3, Area Study 2 is formal. Now, I seem to be noticing at the moment a disconnect between what students actually know and what they actually understand. So there seems to be a bit of a conceptual lack of understanding of what formal and informal actually means. I mean, you can actually understand, you can learn the meta language for Unit 3 and Unit 4, but if you don't actually understand at the conceptual level what formal and informal actually means, it's going to be very hard to get a great mark for Unit 3. So today I'm going to try and demystify that for you to allow you to think for yourself about what formal and informal actually means. So I'm just going to first start off by talking to you about some key differences. So I'll give you some examples. So a formal lexical phrase would be like to request, whereas an informal lexical phrase would be like to ask for. A formal lexeme would be like requirements. The informal lexical equivalent would be like needs. You've also got words like to assist versus help, to regret, to be sorry, to postpone, to put off. So you'll notice that one is formal, one is informal, but why? Why is one, such as request, formal, and why is ask for informal? So firstly, I'll start off by talking about the French invasion. So in 1066, France invaded England, and with that, they brought in over 10,000 words, of which 7,500 exist today in modern English. And you'll notice that during this era, the upper class spoke French, while the lower class spoke Old English, which was of Germanic origins. And this led to many lexemes of French origin being held in higher regard in comparison to their Germanic equivalents. So for example, this can be seen in the couplet, to begin versus to commence. Now we do use to begin more often, to start or begin more often, but commence is used in more formal situations. Now what this means is basically you can reflect a greater air of professionalism, authority, even precision of meaning, and also seriousness. Now let's compare that with informal. So you'll notice that by having seen the pictures in the online article, you'll notice that informal language is often shorter. It's more cut down rather, so more incomplete. So this is actually known as syntactic ellipsis, when we take out whole words out of sentences and make them incomplete, hence what we call them fragmented sentence structures. So for example, if I said to you, nice to meet you, this is cut down versus it is nice to meet you. So we get rid of the it is because it is already assumed knowledge, it's already inferred. So in this case here, informal language is more efficient in terms of saving time. It allows us to get across the intended meaning while simultaneously saving time in the process. And this also leads to the next point of informal language being friendlier, more intimate, more social. So nice to meet you, not only is it saving time, but it also sounds more intimate, it sounds friendlier, it sounds more casual. So by using this with friends or even people you just met, it allows you to immediately establish that intimacy, that friendliness, and gradually decrease the social distance with that new interlocutor. So, as I was saying before, informal language is more efficient. Now, another form of efficiency is phonological elision. Now, elision is when we take out phonemes out of words and it shortens it down. So, for example, you have you versus ya. So, nice to meet ya versus nice to meet you. So the ya not only saves time, and it's actually easier to pronounce when you're speaking fast, but it also, as I said, is more casual, friendlier, intimate, and so forth. Okay, now let's compare that again with formal language. So formal language can also be perceived at times as less imposing on someone's freedom. So what this means is basically you're not forcing on someone's freedom to make them do something that they may not want to do. So think of the phrase, we demand that you pay this bill now. So a company that has an overdue bill with a client might say, we demand that you pay this bill now. Now, that is actually very direct. In some ways, it's actually quite informal because informal language is often more emotive, more direct, and more personal. Now, let's compare that with a formal equivalent. So, this bill should be paid, and it is requested that this be done as soon as practicable. So, let's think about that. This bill should be paid, and it is requested that this be done. So, this is known as an agentless passive. Both of them are agentless passives. This bill should be paid because we're taking out the agent. This bill should be paid, and then it is requested that this be done. So it is requested is also an agentless passive, and this be done is also an agentless passive too. So you have multiple agentless passives within one sentence. And request, as I was saying before, request is formal, and it's actually less forceful on someone's freedom. So if I request you to do something, it's my way of asking you, or somewhat subtly demanding you, but it gives you an option. So request is like, oh, you can deny it. But ultimately the person, when they're saying it, may be actually asking you to do it as soon as possible, but in a nicer manner. So always remember, guys, there's a general rule that formal language is more impersonal, distant, and unambiguous, so it's actually clearer in some instances. And informal is more personal, intimate, and also can be very ambiguous. So if you're, for example, think of slang, it's often restricted to certain groups who understand it. Now, is this useful for the real world? 100% yes. You need to know informal and formal language. Job interviews, meeting new people, anything like that in society that requires you to express yourself with communication in words is really important. So like, for example, when I run workshops every term, and every time I have the workshop landing page where I have my information about the workshop, I'm very conscious in the linguistic choices that I make. So I will make sure that I have a mix of both formal and informal language when I'm promoting my workshop. And the reason I do that is because, number one, I want to relate to the audience and make them feel as though that they're coming to an engaging and enthusiastic workshop. But at the same time, I must use formal language to ensure that I reflect professionalism, authority, and credibility to my intended audience. So you'll notice today, guys, that even in this actual video, I've had a mix of both formal and informal language. And again, it relates back to those purposes. So guys, that's the end of this video today. As I said, make sure you read through the whole article in the description below. Everything's there because I can't say it all in one video. And if you do have any questions or comments, feel free to leave it in the comment section of the article or the YouTube video. Thanks, guys.